movie
survival
guide.
Oh my. This is episode 100.
You can't tell from the balloons in the back.
We got balloons.
I mean, if you're listening on the podcast, you probably can't tell because you can't
red.
see the balloons, but they are red balloons.
They're shiny.
sorry about that, yeah.
They're very Pennywise. We all float here at the Horror Movie Survival Guide.
Yes.
So happy to have 100 episodes with you guys. How amazing.
So crazy.
We have our original OG host, Marion, back if you're listening and hearing.
Hi, guys.
And you love.
They're like, who is that strange woman?
No.
It's me.
And the new G.
The new Marion? Just
new
kidding.
G.
Terry
G.
I just like telling people that because I love a new Jan and a new Darren, a new situation.
And then we have the old school me, just the Julia, the constant.
The constant.
Here.
Always
You are the
Julia.
constant.
At Horror Movie Survival Guide. So we decided we wanted to talk about one of our favorite films
Yeah.
and something that Marion and I saw together upon its release, and we're like
100%.
mind blown. We love this movie so much.
Yeah.
Let's really get into this horror stuff.
It is wild.
It is 28 days later.
Yeah, 2002, Danny Boyle, starring Cillian Murphy, Naomie Harris.
Is it Cillian or Cillian? It's Cillian, right?
Cillian?
Okay, I'll say Cillian. I have literally been saying Cillian this whole
Really?
time in my mind.
I have to.
Should I internet this right now? You guys do the show, I'll internet it?
Okay,
If you want, okay, sure.
Because I feel bad if I'm going to say his name wrong, and then we just call him like Mr. Murphy because then we're not sure.
I just
Twitter's
wanna
like,
call
come on, you guys.
we should just call him Cheekbones because honestly, that's like what I think about.
I'm
I was
100% down with calling him Cheekbones.
Yeah, because this is my first time seeing it. I know y'all saw it like back in the day, but I'd never seen it before.
Did it
It blew
explode
my
you?
freaking mind.
Yes.
And my heart was pounding the entire freaking movie.
Excellent.
Like I was just like on the edge. I was sweaty by the end. I was like, why am I sweating?
Hilarious.
So sweaty.
All right, well, forget the internet. We're just going Cheekbones then.
Yeah,
100%. Okay.
Oh,
Cheekbones.
he's so beautiful.
Beautiful. I mean, I just knew him as like the bad guy from like Dark Knight and whatnot.
Yeah,
and I was like, all right. And then I was
This
like,
is the one that kind of kicked it off for him.
Yes.
yeah, but cheekbones.
Excellent.
Cheekbones.
I can't just call him Cheekbones.
We can't. We're going to call him Jim in like 2 seconds.
Okay.
So for now, we can call him Cheekbones.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this movie a little bit.
Yeah.
So this was made for $8 million.
Okay.
And it made $45 million. Wow. Yay, Danny Boyle.
Slow clap,
Yes.
sir. Slow clap.
He
All
was
right.
It's brilliant.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
really is.
It's so, the tension that he achieves in this film just floored me.
And also, this is one of the first films I think where he went digital, right? Because
yes.
a big part of the whole look of this film is this shot on a Canon, super gritty, which
Grainy.
I feel like, which was one of the things that was kind of revisiting it was kind of shocking to me in a good way. But like the first 5 minutes of this film, like this movie looks crazy. Why does this look so crazy? But it's like 2002 digital, and like it was a big jump, but a big stylistic choice. It feels more so now.
The thing that I think is so brilliant about this film is that there's layers of terror, because you have this terror of waking up and there's no one. Then you have this terror of waking up and there's no one in the fucking city. And then there's people coming fucking after you.
Yeah.
And then when you finally do get to safety, it really isn't safety. And it's just like this keeps going, this like layer
There's
after
no
layer.
settling down. There's
No.
the layers of loneliness
Yes.
and terror.
Yeah.
I mean, I could not imagine waking up in a hospital bed and no one's there.
Yeah.
I mean, literally no one. And you're left to try to find a Coca-Cola.
Yeah, that's all there is.
But I also think what's interesting about it is because he woke up having, and again, for people who are big fans of The Walking Dead, it's like, this is not a shocking premise. But again, 2002, big deal. And I feel like part of it is because when he's waking up, it's not like you're waking up from a nap or like waking up from
Right.
just like a coma where you're like 100% to go. Like he's so out of it in the beginning of this film that I like that his panic is not, it really takes him a while to get panicked about it. So in the beginning, it's just so confusing.
Yeah, he's so fuzzy and he doesn't really know what's
He's
going on.
And I like the
malnourished. I
fuzzy
mean,
of this,
yeah.
rather
Well-
than just go immediately to terror, you know?
Well, and the tagline for this movie is great. The tagline is, his fear began when he wake up alone. His terror began when he realized he wasn't.
It's pretty good.
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Can I tell you a little alternate universe casting for this
Please.
movie?
That's why I came back. I mean, so let's do it. So.
Why we're here, right? For sure.
So we could have had, this is an interesting one, not one that I would expect. Ryan Gosling was up for this in some way. And I'm like, what's that? He can do anything?
Adam
All right,
says
calm
he can
down,
do
Adam,
anything.
calm down.
All right, Adam.
I don't know about that.
Okay.
It'd just be
He
strange.
can do a lot, but he's not cheekbones.
You need someone British, I think, for this, because it's such like a British
Don't you think he
film.
would have played it as British?
Of course he would have.
Yeah.
He
but
would
he's
have,
not.
but there's something about, and well, Cheekbones is actually Irish, but
Yeah.
whatever. He's on the island. I get that. But there's something about London and
Yeah.
seeing an empty London that floored me. Because
Yeah.
Julie and I, a lot of you know, we met on the way to flying to London 20 years of almost like it's very soon.
But
crazy.
I mean, there's always
it's always
people,
crowded. Like
no
that
matter
city.
when.
That's what killed me watching that too. I think that's why I had so much terror because I just remember like being in that city. I remember walking around in the middle of the night in that city.
Yeah,
after
people.
going and there's people. There's always something happening because it's a live, big. It's a major city. It's actually not that huge miles wise or like dimensions wise since you guys are kilometers there, yes. But it's condensed. Like it's got that very. It feels claustrophobic sometimes because there's so many people. So to see it that empty would freak me the heck out.
Yeah, that would be really scary.
So the other alternate universe casting.
Can I guess?
For this, you can.
My hands up, everyone. Is it Ewan McGregor before they're falling out?
Yes.
Gossip.
So apparently this was written.
Do you know about the falling out between Danny Boyle and Ewan McGregor?
Right. Okay, so
this is some juice.
Oh, it's great.
Okay.
Because Ewan McGregor and Danny Boyle worked together on Shallow Grave.
Yes,
right.
And I saw a lot of the casting was like crossed over. Some of the
And
other people
Trainspotting.
were all
and then
in Shallow Grave.
Yeah, so then Trainspotting was the next one. So then I guess Ewan assumed he would continue, and then Danny Boyle cast Leonardo DiCaprio in The Beach, which was supposed to be his part, and he was like out of there, and he pieced out, and they
So
like
apparently
their
the way
friendship.
in which it was handled was a bit awkward, and Ewan was kind of felt put out. So then when this came around, Danny Boyle was like, 100%, this is Ewan McGregor. And he's like, I do think so. Because
it would have been great.
It has since been resolved, but that I could totally see when I was
But I'm
watching
so
this.
glad for Cheekbones.
No,
because,
Cheekbones,
like,
100%,
honestly,
yeah.
I mean, it was a breakout for him, and like his career after that just like was like
And
none other. And he's
so
wonderful,
great in this movie.
You just want to give him a hug. You want to help him. You want to be there. You're rooting for him so much.
I want everything to work out for Cheekbones.
And he also looks great with like half a shaved head. Like he's got.
Can we talk about the hair in this movie? I know we're going to get to plot at some point, but like
Sorry,
the
guys,
hair in
but
the,
I mean,
sorry.
he
Why
wakes
not?
up and I know. I mean, he's naked, so I'm happy. And then he has this crazy because he's gotten like a brain surgery, so
where
it's like
they
shaved half his head, and it looks punk rock and
It's shaved,
cool.
but then it grew back over a month. So it's that specific look. I really enjoy that because when he starts walking around, obviously at some point he's going to see himself and be like, what the fuck,
Yeah.
But in the beginning he
details are
doesn't.
great.
So he's just wandering around in scrubs and this horrific haircut and confused.
It makes it look good though.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
Still hot for it.
Yeah.
What a surprise.
Can we have a toast?
Cheers. Cheekbones.
To Cheekbones, you are awesome.
We love you.
We love you.
Well done.
Yum.
Okay, so beginning of the film, we open on all this crazy news footage, right? It's like riots, chaos, police getting overrun, cars being flipped, everything's on fire. Your favorite.
Yay. You know things are bad when the cars are on fire.
Yeah.
It's true. It's like it's the sign. It's like always the sign.
It's
That's
the
a terrible
bellwether.
part of town.
Yeah, you're like, oh.
Whenever you're like downtown, oh no.
Here
Cars
we
on
go.
fire.
But it's a bit of like sort of like a fake opening because really all of this footage is being watched by a chimpanzee that is being tied down
tied
and
up to,
he's
like,
watching
electrodes
all
and
of
things.
this. And so it's just kind of footage that's not meant to be like this is happening right now
I
per se
literally
in
wrote,
London.
oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no, a lab monkey chained up in a lab. Oh no.
And he looks so sad, the monkey, and you know,
Because you don't want to be watching it.
But I was like, rage. They're doing terrible things.
So then you have this group of activists who come in who want to free the monkeys.
They're kind of like PETA.
And then and they're like going in there and seeing like there's like an autopsy chimp splayed out on a table and like they're all in these cages and they look really angry. And then I love the scientist who comes in who's like, huh?
With his
oh,
coffee.
No, and like runs and is like, just push the alarm. What am I gonna do? Like, and he's like, don't, please. They're infected with rage. They're very contagious. Saliva and blood. Like
it.
But I like when he's like, they're infected with what? He's like, infected with what? He's like, rage? Yeah, whatever, man. We're letting these monkeys out. Like, that's a fake thing.
It doesn't sound like a real thing.
It does not sound like a real thing.
Like,
but the guy is so like, no.
and
Because they don't understand what that is yet.
Yeah, and it's so great that this movie is thought of as one of the like quintessent like zombie movies, but like Night of the Living Dead, which is in fact a ghoul movie.
Yeah.
This is in fact actually infected. They're not actually
rage
zombies.
infected
Which
movie.
I feel like there's a healthy debate to be had there about whether or not you can kind of like flip the coin. But I will say that I do think they obviously at the very beginning, Dan Boyle's like infected.
Yeah, just so
not
you know.
zombies, not zombies.
No, that's great. It
Real
gets
clear
their name
about
in,
this.
and then they say it often enough that I was like, oh yeah,
many times.
I called them Ragers.
Oh, that's good.
That's in my notes. I'm just like the Ragers.
They're
Yeah,
coming for
the
you.
Ragers are out.
So of
TM, I
course
like it.
they try to get the monkeys out, and the monkey attacks one of the girls, who immediately just starts convulsing and blood coming out of her mouth, and she says that she's burning, and then
and she spits it up on another dude, and she doesn't bite him, but she spits on him. And when she spits on him, he's infected.
I would say puke. I would not say spit.
Oh yeah, because they all kind of puke.
It's
a
like
little too.
projectile. It's not just like you're
but they're
spitting in someone's
puking,
face.
like not like.
It's dark horrible
It's
stuff.
like exorcist puke.
Yes.
Where it's
Yeah,
sort
it's
of
like- it
this-
looks like-
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, look, I just
not your
imagine their
lunch,
like
it's
bodies
like-
were like decomposing from within. Is
In
what I
like 10
imagine.
seconds.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
It's your own,
fast.
probably your own insides that
Yeah.
you're puking out. Welcome to Horror Movie Survival Guide.
in case you didn't know, hope you're
They're
put down that
reject-
sandwich, everyone, because we're here. And
We like to talk about these things.
yes.
Yeah, it's bloody puke.
Yeah. Okay. So, but the idea, so it basically shows how the infected works in this beginning. So not only like by being bitten and torn apart, obviously that's kind of the zombie thing.
Yeah.
But just once you're torn apart, she is infected so quickly, and her spitting it out infects this other guy. Everyone gets infected in like 10 to 20 seconds.
Yeah, so
like
everything in
rapidity
this
is
movie
the name of the
happens-
game here.
Yeah,
Like,
it happens so fast.
Yeah.
And I love the idea, and then it cuts to 28 days later. And then I love that it's just like, we're going to skip all the stuff that really happened.
Yeah.
The whole 28 days later.
Everything
of
George
craziness.
Romero does,
Yeah.
we're just like skip.
Skip that. I think that's gutsy.
I do. I agree.
And I love that when Jim wakes up, somebody had slid the key under his door, so they
Yeah.
locked him in so he'd be safe. But then, like, if he ever wakes up, he can get out.
Yeah.
That's someone was thinking, but it's very sad.
There's a lot of like kind of noble gestures in this
Yeah.
movie. We'll come to some of them later that are like
Throughout-
single
throughout
tier.
the place. Yeah, because
That are
people
really well
knew.
done. I know.
Yeah.
There's like little kindnesses people do in like the apocalypse, basically.
When the end is nigh, it's like, what are you gonna do? What's
Yeah.
your situation? What's your bug out plan? What's your prepping? What you're doing? What are you leaving? Right?
And what little things are you going to do like on your way out? You know, I know.
That's a whole. I don't want to go down.
We're gonna come.
That's a little sad.
We're gonna come to that in a bit.
So he wanders through to London. London is deserted.
hello, hello,
Yeah, just
hello.
No one. No one.
Yeah,
and
naked in the beginning, then putting on hospital scrubs.
and he's got the bag of like sodas because he's just like chugging them because he hasn't had anything.
But this is I mean, I know, I feel like we'll get to her later, and I feel like Selina's like sort of more of a final girl. But as a final boy, Jim has some good instincts early on in this thing. Whereas, like, obviously he's so malnourished and dehydrated, he's just like garbage food, soda, whatever. But because he finds this bag, and because he's still hungry, there's like soda machines that are torn apart and vending machines that are torn apart, and he starts putting stuff in the bag and just walking around with a bag just to have extra food. And I'm like, well done. Yes, that's
he's
a good
half
move.
there, but there's still. But here's the one of the things he does that I find very questionable.
Okay.
He's wandering through London. He finds a newspaper that says evacuation real big on top of it,
Yes.
and he just throws it down. I'm like, what? You don't.
I wasn't
read?
sure if he was delirious still.
I thought that thing,
because I was
yeah.
like, he's still like from the hospital and it doesn't make sense. And he's like, that doesn't make sense. Or maybe he thinks it's
He's
like one
dreaming.
of those. He's dreaming. Or maybe one of those like silly tabloids because London is good for the tabloid.
That's fair.
You know,
Who's
like.
going to believe a British newspaper? Absolutely not. Like,
No, but some of the if it looks like a tabloid,
Yeah.
like Orson Welles or some like
No.
do you know what I mean? Though like
That's
some
legit.
like crazy old timey story.
I think it's also too is that idea too that something that seems obviously the fact that the city is abandoned, it should be like red flag, but it's so crazy. It's like a thing you don't want to be true. So it's like no, it must be some sort of mistake or it's a holiday or and again he's just so fuzzy, and that's what I like about his Cheekbone's performance in the beginning of this thing is this idea that he doesn't have. I'm sticking with it. Is that he does? I'm being very serious, right? This is some serious podcasting right now.
That's what I say, but I could
do whatever you need.
Okay.
With the actor who plays Jim, the way that he does it, where the panic is really slow burn, and I feel like a less clever director and actor might be like, so you wake up, you're in the hospital, no one's fucking around, Jesus Christ, what's going on? And he's just so like, what?
He's waking up from the haze.
Yeah.
What? And I think that's really realistic. It's that kind of idea that when you sort of see people shell shocked and they are walking like they are in a daze, like they cannot process what has just happened.
Sure, because
I feel like Jim is totally that.
Yeah, he goes up to the big thing in the Trafalgar Square with all of the missing people notice boards, and he doesn't.
Which is super like 9/11-y, and I know this movie came out like right after 9/11.
Yeah.
It was
so
made
it's
before
like,
though.
Was it?
It was made before.
that makes sense,
And Danny
yeah.
Boyle has since said, like, if it had been made after, he would have taken that away. But it was made before, and so it was already in there.
Wow.
It
but
looks
then-
very much like that. But they have like a thing like that in Handmaid's Tale too, where it's like people are like, but it's like, that's what you would do
That's
if you're
100%
looking for
people
people.
do.
I mean, when things go analog and there's nothing running anymore.
Yeah.
You got to resort
put
to
up
old
notices.
fashioned, like put
I
the notice
know.
up on the wall like you're in the Wild West.
Yeah.
You know?
So then we get into like starting to get real into it here. And
Church.
like church, he goes to the church and you walk into the church and there's just dead bodies.
And
all in the church.
up on I love the graffiti that's up on the
it's
wall
so
that says
good.
the end is extremely fucking nigh. I'm like, I like it.
Yeah.
It's the little tidbits.
And this little bit right here might be my favorite moment in the film. The priest comes out and he's walking all crazy, and Jim's backing up and he doesn't really know what's happening.
Father.
Yeah, he's got like his hands up in this very projective gesture, and he doesn't know what's going on. But he's coming really fast, and he's not stopping. He's not responding, and he takes the big bag of sodas and just clocks him as hard as he can. But immediately, I shouldn't have done that. And
he's so sorry.
He's so
feel
sorry.
so bad, but if you got some crazy ass thing coming at you, and you don't know, and it looks like a demon possessed priest, yeah, you're probably gonna
But
smack
that's the thing, is his instincts are excellent.
Yes, and it's
Yes.
a good indicator of where Jim's going to go later on. Because in the beginning, once he meets other characters, he seems like sort of the softie, but he does have these instincts, these survival instincts that are like maybe nascent,
Ready to
but
kick
deep,
in.
and he's there. I also love just before he sees the priest, when he sees all the bodies, and it's sort of like you have this kind of thought of like, oh, these poor bastards, and he makes a noise, and two of them get up and turn, and I feel like it's the first time you see the human infected, and their faces are crazy.
Their
They just
eyes are
get up and
bloodshot.
stare, and their mouth is open, and they're just like frozen, just looking at him, and it's so simple and so just
Very
like,
effective.
Yeah, you're just like, this is wrong, rather than like monsters and makeup and drooling and the undead, and it's not of that. It's just like something is super wrong with this human being. Back away,
They've turned.
And so that's when he starts running because they start coming after him, and suddenly these...
And they run, and that's the running thing is the whole thing.
Right.
So it's
the
running. They just go.
Yeah, well done, Danny Boyle.
Yeah.
Because zombies shamble slowly. The rage infected fucking tear ass towards you. I'm gonna puke blood in your face.
Well,
I'm into it.
And if you just talk about like in terms of like what is scary about zombies versus infected, to me what's scary about zombies is the horde. It's always the horde thing. Like when it's one or two of them, you watch these movies, you're like, I'm not gonna take this bastard out, right?
push him over.
Do you know what I mean? Like give him a good shove, look for something, shove again, look for something else. You have time. But with the infected, it's constantly putting you in a place of panic. You're just panicked all the time.
And you don't know how many are going to come, because sometimes it's one, and then all of a sudden there's going to be more.
So you're running, and it reminds me of Guy Pearce in Memento, where he's like, he wakes up and he's running. He's like, oh, I'm chasing this guy. Oh no, he's chasing me. Like,
What am I doing? What am I doing?
What's happening? Yeah, it's that thing. It's like they're just running at you, and you don't know what the deal is, and they're making noises, and you don't know what they want, and so it's just a constant panic mode.
Right.
And I think that's a clever idea.
And even more panic when two strange masked figures in balaclavas come out with Molotov cocktails and start Molotov cocktailing the infected.
And they still run.
Shout out to that stuntman who was running full out, full body
fire.
burn.
Like, I don't know why the fire stunts always do us. We're always
done.
just like
Because we're impressed,
outstanding.
and also because our best friend Matt Dynan.
Matt
Hi,
Dynan.
Matt. Really loves a fire effect, and I think about him every time doing that in high school when he probably shouldn't have.
If you
40.
subscribe to our Patreon, we will tell you all about that story.
Oh, we
Oh,
should
yeah,
tell them about
it's-
that story. Yeah,
it's very good.
Definitely.
It's a good story.
Yeah. Stunts gone wrong.
And so then there's this giant explosion at the gas station.
Yeah.
They blow it up.
Yeah,
And
and then he basically gets shuttled into like a little shop, like a gas station shop, and they pull the grate
like a little
down.
news agents or whatever.
Totally.
And they close down the gate, and then they're able to be safe for a moment.
Yes, and they
then
take off their balaclavas.
Introductions.
We
meet the baddest bitch in the planet.
Selena and Mark.
how fucking badass is she, man?
So your
Like I
Halloween
always do,
costume.
I try not.
Hello?
I try not. Clearly, I was like cosplay situation, ready to be done.
100%.
I did not realize that she was in this movie because I didn't look at the cat. I all I knew was cheekbones because everyone talks about him in this thing. But I
Fair.
did not realize that she was in this before because I'm a big fan of the Tia Dalma. I've been for Halloween before
Hilarious.
from Pirates, which she is as well.
Yeah.
And I loved her in Moonlight, and she's amazing. And I was just like, oh my god,
Yeah.
she is so.
This role
Tough.
is fantastic.
She murders this role.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah.
Murders.
But as confused as he is, they're also confused. They're like, "Who are you? Where have you been? Why are you in scrubs?
Like, how did you get out of here?
Are
And
you
then
a
they're-
doctor? Or
what is happening?"
But
Yeah.
then real fast, they're like, oh no, like, okay,
Yeah.
no, you might be a liability. We got to get you up to speed now.
Yeah.
Which I love because she's just like, these are rules. These are things you need to know.
These are things
I'm
we
gonna get
figured
you
out in
freaking up to
28
speed.
days.
All right, I got
Yeah.
it. The rules, tips.
One.
Never go anywhere alone and never always travel by daylight unless you have no choice.
Yep.
Right.
Both ones, unless you have no choice.
And they kind of, and I like that, Jim has the sort of clinging to humanity where he's like, where's the government? There's always a government.
I
They're
love
like,
that
no,
part.
dude,
Nope.
no, we're all done with that. Like, where's the army? Where's the, like, that kind of clinging, like, someone's gonna, we've talked about forever,
that's why
someone's
he,
gonna come save us. Like, no one's
No.
coming, man. Nobody's coming.
I think that's probably why he threw down the newspaper, honestly. I was thinking about that too. He's like, oh, well, I'm sure like they've already got an army or like something's already been handled.
That sounds bad for those people
Right.
over there.
We always think it's over there.
But they also tell him that they've heard right before the whole thing shut down that it was also in Paris and New York. So
Right.
it seems to be this worldwide thing.
So Selena is basically like, this is the deal now.
Yes.
So like,
this is where we live
And
this
has
is what we have to do.
no comfort for him at all.
And he, they were sort of talking about their families or whatever, and he talks about his parents, and she's like, no, they're dead. They're all dead. And he's not having it. And he wants to go and like basically see for himself, which Mark and Selena indulge once it becomes light
but
again.
Mark's like, we'll go find your dead parents together. And I'm like, oh, come on, man. Give him a little bit. He just woke up.
Literally just woke up, man.
I think they're just trying, like I said, just to get him up to speed so he can be with them. Because if he's still in that headspace, he's harder and he's a liability. And I think Selena's always in that, like, she is in full-on survival girl mode.
She's maybe the most survivally final girl there is.
Especially this early in the film, I would say.
Your introduction, you're like, damn.
Yeah. She's like, these are the rules. These are the things.
She's already learned everything before this movie started. And she's just like, oh no, I'm already there.
In 28 days as well.
Correct.
Like, and not all of that. Like, wow.
Yeah, no, it's pretty intense.
So they go to his house.
Yeah, they walk to Devonshire.
Oh, this scene, man.
Yeah.
Kills me.
This is really good. This is like 20 minutes into this movie too. So you're just like, oh, what's up, emotional stakes? Here we are.
Here we are going up into the bedroom to find your dead parents holding each other. There's wine and pills on the bedstand, and they have they're holding a picture of you
as a child.
As a child. And then
This
on the back,
reminded me a little like Titanic ending a little.
With
Do you
the
know what I
old
mean?
people
The
holding
old
each
people on the
other?
bed.
I hate
was
that
just
scene.
like, that's the only thing that made me cry in Titanic. I hate that movie. I'm sorry. I'll stand by it. I'm just glad the
It's a
Avengers
different
beat
Patreon.
it.
It's a different Patreon.
Totally, but we'll talk about that on another show for sure. Different episode for sure about that Titanic.
and then
yes.
written on the back of the note,
Go ahead.
Jim, with endless love, we left you sleeping. Now we're sleeping with you.
Don't wake up.
Whatever. I mean, it's just, and then of course Cheekbones just cries the good cry you do when your parents have suicided together
and left a
are
note for
telling
you and are
don't
holding
wake
a
up.
picture of you as a beautiful baby, and that's how they think of you and hold on to you forever, and that's all they left.
Whatever movie.
Okay, so then he goes downstairs.
Yeah.
And later that night, and lights a candle to look at some pictures of his parents.
Oh, but Mark gets a monologue first. Remember, Mark gets his monologue about.
I'm sorry. I don't want to skip that monologue.
Everyone briefly. I mean, everyone has sort of their monologue about, inevitably like why we're the survivors, how we got here, and Mark tells
Selena
this.
doesn't though, really.
Well, no, but yes, but I feel like she's also like all human connection, shut that shit down because it's all a liability. But Mark's like, cracking jokes and kind of just like, well, we're survivors, might as well make the most of it and have a good time. So he tells this crazy story about how he and his parents and sister all went to Paddington with a bunch of money and they were going to try and buy their way onto a train. But P.S. 20,000 other people thought of that idea, and money doesn't mean anything anymore.
And the people became a mountain, and they had to scale the mountain.
And somebody in the crowd got infected, and it just spread. So you couldn't tell who was infected and who was trying to get away from the infected. And so he climbed up onto the top of a kiosk.
Yep.
Stepping on people as he went.
And he has
Couldn't
this
tell
thing where
who
he's
was
like,
what.
and my dad's face. His face,
Right.
and you're just like, I don't even know what.
And you know exactly what the face was because
That story, I think, scared me more than anything in this film.
Yeah.
And he's just describing it. You don't ever see anything. And I could picture it because I've been to Paddington Station and I know how huge that place is. And if everybody went insane, it would be pandemonium. And then your parents, and then you're lost, you're stepping on people. My God, that story.
Yeah,
that monologue.
it's great.
A+.
Yeah, well done. But then he decides, Jim decides to light a candle and kind of look around, have like a bit of a flashback about his parents and happy days and all this kind of stuff.
And then in fucking split second, you have infected from the skylight and infected from the window, smashing into the same time, glass everywhere, all over him.
Yeah. I also like that he just starts screaming for Selena, where he's like, Selena! Like, come save me.
That's all I have.
I mean, fair. I'm like, she's basically going to save all of you.
and she
Selena
does
and Mark,
again and again.
And again.
So Selena and Mark come in and they do dispatch these guys, and immediately Selena's like to Jim, like, have you been bitten? Are you bitten? Did any of their
blood get in your mouth.
Blood get in your mouth or face. And he's like, no, no, no. And she turns to look at Mark, and he is just covering up a wound on his arm that he has just seen.
Yeah, and it's open.
She looks at him, and he looks at her, and he's like, no, no, no. But like, she can tell from his eyes that, of course, and she machetes that dude.
She whacks that arm off first, and then him, and it's done.
And he's like begging her not to.
No hesitation at all.
And it's like in 10 seconds he's done.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow. And then Jim's just like, and he has no idea how long she's been with that guy, like what the deal was, what the story, but she was just like, oh, you're bitten. We're done.
And that whole sequence is like a minute tops.
Yeah.
So like Jim was like just looking at a picture of his parents, and then he's like, like, oh my God, what has just happened?
Yeah, so they've lost the third of their party, and now they got to move because Lena's like, more are coming.
Yeah.
Get your shit together.
Clean
grab
yourself
some
up.
things from your house. Wash off that blood because it's infected. Get it off your body. Get it not near you, and we're going.
Yeah.
And so they start moving, and they get back to the city.
How I was wondering about how the infected work. Is it like a mental connection thing where they will go on like?
You mean connected to each other?
Yes. Like she says, more are coming, right? So how do they know?
I think it's because he had the light on.
I think it's the light.
I think because he went over there with the candle. As soon as he had the candle, I was like, oh shit.
And there's
he's got
that
a
brief
light
master
source.
where like you kind of saw almost from the infective's POV, like the light source.
Right.
So I feel like if anything, they can sense that anything is close. They're like attack. But I feel like when people escape them, they always just kind of stop running and kind of like, well, all right, that's not going to work. And they kind of, you know what I mean? And so I feel like there's maybe more than like a telepathic connection.
Right.
They're just so instinctual based. We're like tear apart.
Right.
Zombie-ish in a way,
Right.
so to speak. So they go for a walk after that, and she explains like basically you have 10 to 20 seconds from the time that you're infected to when you full turn, and so
that's the best window to like actually take them out.
Look at this sly whiskey.
Oh, wow.
Thank you, Adam.
Thanks,
I feel
Adam.
fancy. I love what she says here, though, because she says, do you have plans, Jim? You want to find a cure and save the world, or just fall in love and fuck? Plans are pointless. Staying alive is as good as it gets.
Yeah.
Ooh. Wow.
But it's also it goes back to the great, thank you, Adam. It goes back to the great, like, sort of thing that I think Romero covers very well in a lot of his films. Like, what's the point of it? Mm-hmm. Like in the New World Order, apocalypse has happened. It's not about Amazon packages and laundry and career stuff. Now you're redefining your life and what the point of survival is.
Right.
And it's going to be different for everybody. And Jim is clearly not where she is right now. And where she's at is like, it's just breathing is the best. Like, that's it. That's the whole thing.
That's the piece she's made with 28 days later.
With
you know what I
28
mean?
days
though?
later, correct.
So it's like he's on day 1, and she's on day 28. So they're in different like spaces of what they can take in.
It's a great idea as well. You know? Like, what a good idea to have your characters from the kind of those points of view where it's the same event, but they've entered into it in different times, which again, I feel like in sort of like maybe sort of the other zombie films, they're all kind of in it around the same time. Right. But to have this, like everyone's aware of what the world's deal is at totally like a month apart, it's a really good idea.
Yeah. So they see some Christmas lights blinking on a balcony and decide
One of those
to go.
tenement British block buildings. Yeah.
The council flats.
A council, flat.
And so they decide to go in, and there's this mountain of shopping carts, shopping trolleys,
some trolleys
that they have erected in order to save themselves.
Yeah.
And see the infectors, of course, start coming, and I love
skitter up the stairs.
It's so great though, because halfway up the stairs, Jim starts to crash because all he's had is sugar, and he's like had nothing to eat, and he's
got a headache, and he's in recovery from being.
And she has no mercy, and she's just clomping up the stairs behind him, and he's like, wait,
Selena, wait for
She's
me.
like, do you need a break?
Me.
And she's like, no,
I'm good. She's like, okay, wait, no, I do need a break. I do. And
like,
poor Jim.
God, you're slow.
So they sit, and then the affected come after them.
And it's so scary to think like you're in that state where your body has crashed completely, but you have to run for your life now. Yeah. And he can't go as fast as he wants to go. And then there's this guy in the SWAT gear who's just all of a sudden, is he going to shoot him? What the deal is?
Mad Eye Moody. Julia still needs to read or watch some Harry Potter, but it's okay.
That's his character in Harry Potter.
Zero.
Yeah.
Brendan Gleeson is
every British person.
pretty much this. Julia, it's British school children.
I know.
Literally one of your favorite things in life.
Kenneth Branagh's in it. Gary Oldman's in it. I know. I get it.
Freaky Gary Oldman's in it. Well, that's he's screaming and doing all the things.
So hot.
That's not what this podcast is about, and here we are.
Patreon. Okay.
Coming back to it. But yeah, so basically they come to the top of the stairs and they see this guy in SWAT gear and they're like, and he lets them pass and tells them to go down, I think like the last door on the right or something. And he fights off the infected that were following after them. And he comes in and takes off all his SWAT gear. And there's like a 13-year-old in the apartment. And it's Hannah. And it's Brendan Gleeson, who plays Frank, and his daughter Hannah. And the inside of their apartment is like Christmas lights and Christmas music. And like, it's okay. Humanity's
trying to make
still
the
here.
most of it.
We're okay.
Yeah,
We're all
it's
okay.
you and me. We'll do it together.
Oh, thanks for coming. Do you want some creme de menthe? And you're like, what? Like, that's... Where
They're
are the
trying
good
to
glasses, Hannah? Where are
wine
the
and
good
dine
glasses?
them with like the ones that are still clean, basically.
Basically, yeah. And they have like give them drinks and all this kind of stuff. And, you know, and Jim's kind of like, yeah, this is awesome, great, you know, and like give them play. Frank's like, oh, are you guys a couple? Are you together? He's like, oh, no. Oh, okay, cool. You guys can have separate rooms and, you know, all this kind of like hospitality kind
Frank
of stuff.
also wants to know the lay of the land, what's going on.
They're reading each other, even though they're being nice about it. But it's clearly, this is a survival game. And so they're clearly both checking each other out. Like, do we team up with them? Do we not? Will this work?
Yeah.
Are these
Frank
the people
is
to
clearly
escape
a very
with?
like sweet man who like likes the idea of like having human connections and like we could all be in it together, and that feels good to him.
Well, he's also in dad mode.
Definitely.
He is there to protect and save his daughter. That is his goal and that is his mission. And you get that straight up too, because that is like what the sweetness is about. He's like, are they going to be okay around my kid?
Yeah.
Are these people I could travel with my kid? That is clearly his
And if
focus
something
the whole
were to
time.
happen to me,
can they take care and get her through this?
Yeah.
And that is all it's about.
Yeah.
And so you get that, I think, from the moment that they're sizing each other up. And that's what that connection in that moment's all about. And I was like, oh.
But then Jim and Selena have the conversation where they're like, okay, what do
They're
we do?
going to slow us down.
Yeah, and then, you know, Jim's like, they're good people. And Selena's like, they're going to slow us down. So you have this different, you know, mindset of what she's already in survival mode. It's like, I don't care if they're good people or not. They're not good, not useful to me.
And I like that she rejects any kind of connection because he's like tries to thank her and she's like, sure. And he's like, no, thank you. And she's not going to say you're welcome.
No.
She's like, yeah, sure. Like, this isn't going to be a thing.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going to.
You're going to try to break this down.
I don't.
and
I
that's
literally don't give a shit. Like, I just like no.
And she tells him like, if I will,
Her boundaries
kill
are
you
very
in a-
clear.
Kill you in a heartbeat.
In a heartbeat. Yeah.
She just saw him do it. You know what I mean,
Yeah.
though? She was like, that was the homie before Mark, and
Playing
now
for keeps, man.
gone.
Yeah.
But they have all these containers on the roof because they've run out of water and it hasn't rained in London in forever.
10 days.
10 days.
That is
And
forever in London.
Yeah.
I mean, it rains every damn day in London. Hi, London. Hi, our
We
friends
love
in
you,
England.
So they decide, okay, we have this. They have this radio broadcast that they hear. That's this repeating radio broadcast that says that there is a cure. They have found the cure.
So
Come
clearly,
come to
it's
safety.
a recording that's on repeat.
Yeah, and it's like you have to go up the M6. It's blockade
Up to
number
Manchester.
42.
I love Manchester.
There are soldiers there, and Frank's like, "This is a really good idea." And Selena is not convinced initially, but he's like, "What other plan is there?
Where
Like,
else are we going to go?
what are we going to do?" And also he's like, I couldn't do this with just Hannah and I. Like, I need you guys too in case something happens to me. So luckily Frank was a taxi driver in another life. And so they all pile into their car and head out, and he turns the meter on, which I like, which they're having a good time, but they make a mistake by my estimation in terms of Final Girls survival guide mode, where they have the choice between, do we go in the underground tunnel, which is much faster, but obviously completely like we don't know what we're going into as we start driving the car through.
Unknown.
Or do we go around a longer way to get out of London, but everything's above ground?
Right.
And basically they're like, nah, gun it. And Jim was
was like, no, let's go above.
Jim has this great line that I love where he's like, this is a shit idea. You know why? Because it's obviously a really shit idea. Like, we're going down and we don't know what's in there. And then once they start going through, there are dead bodies and cars and things where
Glass.
it's all, and they kind of are ramming
Things
it
that are going
like
to jack up a car, but then Frank's like, he gets all, and he just jams it.
and they're having like a good time. They're like laughing and whatever. And I was like, no, stop doing all of this. Stop. Don't hit other cars with your only working car. But they do. And they get a flat tire right in the middle of the tunnel.
Yeah,
and
but
I was like, disaster.
Of course.
Like, terrible idea.
And of course, Jim's like, I told you. But who's going to change that flat tire?
Hannah, the 13-year-old.
Correct.
No problem.
She's like, give me a second, Pops.
Gets
And
under
she's
there.
so used to it because she clearly grew up around this car and
Yeah.
is ready to go.
But then all of a sudden, thousands and thousands of rats come running at them and over Hannah, who is laying down onto the ground.
Yeah, and she was like, oh, gross, but not that bad.
Watching
Oh,
with
wait.
subtitles, scuttling. Scuttling.
Oh.
Scuttling.
Really?
Scuttling. And I was like, Subtitles, they're scuttling.
That is some scuttling.
Like Cillian is like, they're running from something. What could they possibly be running from?
Shadows in the wall, shadows in the wall, shadows in the wall.
And then, of course, there's the changing the tire. They're coming. Changing the tire.
Because the rats are in survival mode too.
Yeah,
and are
having
trying
to change a tire, like dealing with the jack when you're just like super panicked and rushing, it seems
And covered
awful.
with rats.
And covered with rats, it just, it seems awful. But they get into the car just in the nick of time, just as the infected like leap onto the back of the car, and they drive away, being like "fuckers" as they go. Like,
And they drive off. And this scene made me so happy because I love British supermarkets. I have a fetish for British supermarkets. I really do.
She comes back every time with a trip from London with a luggage full of
Look what
British
I
treats
found. Look
and
at all
snacks and
British
Mr.
treats.
Kipling's and some
Can we get
Cadbury
Mr.
and some,
Kipling's to sponsor this podcast?
Honestly, if you're listening, Mr. Kipling,
we
if
love
you're
you.
watching Mr.
I will
Kipling,
plug you every fucking episode.
She really
with no
will.
problem.
maybe don't say plug them every fucking episode.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
just saying
Sorry.
it's not Mr. Kipling's, but whatever.
But they have this wonderful, montage where they get to have whatever food they want because everything's free and everything's pristine and
which to me is very zombie movie homage-y,
It's
because
like
it's in
Night of the
every
Comet
movie,
or
100%. It's the world is ended, so it's like Tesco's madness,
Yes. So then there's this shot, and I wanted to talk to you specifically about this shot. So there's a shot of them driving in front of a big field of flowers.
It looks like a painting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
I saw that too.
What is that? Because to me, that takes it totally out of reality, and now we're in some other kind of film where there's everything has been very real and very this could really happen. And I'm like, he's being artistic, I get it, but what does that mean?
But to me, I just felt like this is the most happy these characters are ever going to be.
Okay.
Like in this film. Like it doesn't get any better for them than this moment right now because things
Are they just deliriously happy from the
I
food?
think so.
Like they're just like
It's the food,
I've been
it's the fact that Frank is like, he goes for the good scotch, which I was like, correct. You go for the good scotch. Like,
because Jim was like,
bottle by
I got
bottle.
this bottom shelf thing, and he's like, nah, up higher.
Yeah.
And I'll take 3 to 4 of those.
Yeah. And he's reading about the peat where it's like, you have the bite, but not the burn. Yeah. Like still reading the labels. And
I
I'm
love
like,
it.
just take the scotch. But to me, it just felt like there was a euphoria maybe that these
Okay.
characters have that perhaps, because he was playing a bit with these sort of askew angles and, things like that maybe it's meant to represent the euphoria of this is the best it's ever going to be. And perhaps a little bit the world
A little bit foreshadowing too of it's not all what it seems right now either.
Possibly.
Maybe still.
Because then they go and have that really sweet picnic by the ruins and they see the horses and it's like that whole bit.
And this is the thing that I wonder about. I'm like, just stay out there, man. Like, stay out in the English
too
countryside.
exposed.
No.
But how are they?
because
If there's enough big open spaces, like
too
you'll see them.
exposed. No, you won't. That's how you get seen.
I understand, but I also think that's a better plan than going to some fucking soldiers. Like
I agree. I just feel like, I think at that specific place, the idea of kind of being in a place that would be where you could see everything works both ways, right? Because obviously when he lit the candle to have the memories of his parents, it called all the infected towards him. So if you're sitting in the beginning of Stonehenge, right? You know what I mean?
Go to Stonehenge.
If you go to Stonehenge when the zombie apocalypse happens,
you'll be safe. That's what I hear.
I just feel like not only, yes, you'll always see them coming, but they're never going to stop coming. So you can do that, but you better have an endless supply of ammo because at some point you're going to run out. And at some point there's
honestly
never going to.
Once they get to the soldiers, honestly, that was my thought too. I was like, they're going to run out of freaking ammo. What do you do when the guns are gone? Because these guys
at least
seem
they have
useless.
the wall and kind of a moat situation
they
and barbed
seem
wire.
damn useless. They
Yeah.
have no spines and they are useless.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can we?
In the country, there's just fewer people that could have been infected in the first place.
Yes, so our producer says that in the country that there's fewer people that could have been infected, and I agree. And there's also they don't have cars. In fact, they can't drive. They're running everywhere. So
But they're really fucking fast.
I know they're fast, but still, if you're off they're not car fast, and if you've anyway,
Yeah.
you know what I mean.
I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Any plan is better than the plan they're going towards, but of course they don't know that yet.
Right.
But it's going to be bad.
Yes.
But Selena does have, Selena and Jim have these nice moments. She talks about, you're never going to see a film that's not already been made. And read a book that's already written.
Which is a great line, which is that's an interesting thing to think about in terms of the zombie apocalypse is anything you will ever see will have already happened. Mm-hmm. So there's, in that sense, artistically and in other ways, there is no future. There's no future anything. Mm-hmm. So just everything that you have now is how it will be forever. And like, that's a really interesting idea. But I do feel like it's also the beginning of Selena softening, where she gives him a kiss on the cheek and is like, I think maybe there was a point that you were making earlier about there's more to this whole life thing than just staying alive.
Because she sees Hannah and Frank and their relationship and realizes like how important it is to have a connection.
Yeah.
And what that looks like. Because I think she had forgotten what like genuine family and love and connection
For
were.
sure. Because in my brain, I feel like Selena 100% killed all her family.
Probably.
She probably had to.
Do you know what I mean? To be so hard. Like, I feel like, I don't know if she was married or I don't know if she had to kill her parents, but like, there were personal people that lady took down. And I feel like that's part of the reason why.
Closed her off.
Yeah. Where she's like, oh, feelings? No, thank you.
Nope.
Not interested.
And to the end has a mad stash of pills that she just carries with her and just knocks herself out every night, which I find dubious because I feel like Selena would be smarter than if
being out every night. But she also probably has the right upper and like, do you know what I mean? Though, in
Her
like a
body's
sense of
used
like,
to it, yeah.
because was a chemist or whatever too, or like a pharmacist, basically America. We are very over time, ladies. Just FYI, I don't know what you want to do for these guys.
Okay, well,
we're at like 45, I think, right now.
Well, why don't we skip ahead to when they do,
40.
they come to the blockade, right?
Okay.
Because that's the part where we meet another big character in this film, Major Henry West, played by Christopher Eccleston.
Yay.
So eventually they make their way just out to Manchester, see that all of Manchester is on fire, find this blockade. We meet Henry West and all of his soldiers.
but Frank, before that,
This is the craziest death.
gets blood in the eye and is infected and tells Hannah right before she goes like, I love you, I'm sorry, get away from me, and they had to just machine gun him.
he starts to go like he turned like that 10 to 20 seconds is no joke, man.
fast.
Just going.
Yeah.
And so that's how their introduction to these soldiers, like they just shoot one of their friends, but they had to be shot.
Yeah.
So the soldiers seem to have this kind of sweet deal. They've got this big manor house that they live in, and they have a chef guy, and
Big ass barricade. Yeah.
they got lights, they got machine guns.
But I like
They
that
got
on
a
the
generator.
surface.
They've got water, which is the most important because they have not had any fresh water.
They take hot showers when they show up. They're
Yeah,
like,
they're like,
nice.
we'll give you hot
Cheekbones in the
showers.
shower.
He was back.
Cheekbones
He was
in
back.
the shower.
He was there. Yeah, we saw
That was
him.
nice.
That was a little dance. I'm sorry if you're just listening. I still a dance for that.
Worth it. Worth it. But yeah, but I like that there's this thing where like they have all the trappings of civilization and normality. But to me, the creepiest thing about these guys in the beginning were all like, and I feel like Selena's the same way. They are too jovial by half. Like they are having too good a time in the zombie apocalypse. And I feel like if someone's having too good a time in the zombie apocalypse, that's a sign of twang. And if you've twang, stay the fuck away from me because
I actually wrote this looks like Lord of the Flies in here. I don't like it
100%.
and I don't trust it as soon as they got there. And that was
Yeah.
literally in my note. And I was like, nope, not good. Too many dudes that are like aggro. And then when they showed the guy that they had an infected person chained up.
Mailer.
This is a
Mailer,
throwback
who is an
to-
amazing stunt person. That's his job. He's a stunt guy, I guess. I went to the IMDb and I was like, he's got all these awards. He's a stunt man. And I was like, he had no
great.
lines. I was like, damn it. But I was also like, oh, he's literally, his physicality is insane. And that's why he is there. And he does the do.
And a throwback to Day of the Dead,
Yeah.
where we have Bub chained
Yeah.
up as their test zombie. They're going to see how long it takes the infected to starve to death.
Yeah.
But you know, the thing that's so horrible about it is you have one of the soldiers who's saying like, now the Earth's going to turn back to normal because maybe this is what's supposed to happen, and the Earth is just supposed to.
maybe our
man's-
species is done.
Is done.
Yeah,
But then-
Sergeant Mitchell is sort of like this philosophical
Farrell,
soldier.
I think.
Farrell, yeah, it is
Oh,
Farrell.
okay. Was like sort of this like philosophical soldier that's like
that they all
oh.
break down and make fun of, and they're not cool too.
Because he's the only one who's sensitive and still
Yes.
has humanity left in
Yes.
him. Yep.
Yeah.
But then West says like, well, you know what I saw in the last 4 weeks? People killing people. You know what I saw in the last weeks before that? People killing people. So I think we're in the state of normality right now. And I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
It's dark, but kind of true.
But and then they do the infected do attack, and you do see that like their defenses seem pretty good. They have like landmines and barbed wire and like floodlights and all this kind of stuff. But again, the soldiers slaughter all the infected, and they have way too good a time doing it.
And they just
It's
are
too
wasting
fun.
ammo because they're not precise about it.
Yeah.
They're like giddy about it and high from it.
Yeah.
And that's the problem where I was like, oh no, they're not being strategic about using their supplies properly.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Though right there I was like, oh no, they're already
Yeah.
do.
And then they come back from that attack and they sort of start looking at Selena and Hannah, who, by the way, is like 13. And they're like, how you doing?
Yeah, but
and then
she's
it's just
female
like,
and that's-
whoa. And I feel like that, like Farrell is kind of like, back off, guys. And Jim's like, tries to shut it down, but he gets knocked out. And when he comes to, like, Wes kind of is like, listen, like, I promised them women. And I was like, whatever,
Yeah,
movie,
and you know,
promised
but as
them
soon as they
women?
talked
Like-
about that, though, honestly, as soon as before when he was talking about like the new Earth and that they're there to repopulate and that
She
was their
knew,
mission,
she knew.
I was like, If you're making a new planet and regenerating and restarting, what do you need?
Yeah.
Women.
We got
The
Handmaid's Tale
ladies.
again, like getting like that, like, we got to, what we do at the end.
So basically, they have gone from horrible infected zombies to psychotic soldiers who want to keep them captive and continually rape them until they get pregnant and have babies for the end of time.
Yeah. Who's the real monster? Who's the real
That
monster?
is the question.
But I just like too, Christopher Eccleston is, I feel like these military guys are not necessarily his bag per se, but I love like the sort of like, I promise them women, like, right. You
like, I
go
can't-
along with
No,
the
but he's
program.
like,
he's
like
so
the
great
benevolent
about it.
cult leader. Like,
Yeah, it's
honestly,
very
that's
culty.
his,
It's
that's
so
his
great.
job. He's
Yeah.
starting the new. He's the president of the new whatever. Do you know
Yeah.
his republic in that place? That's what he's done. But then they end up chasing once like our cheekbones like figures the freak out and tries to get the girls out of there. They get attacked, and then he ends up being marched out to the freaking
To be shot.
to be shot.
To be quarantined, which actually just means shot in the back of the head and then left in a ditch.
Correct. Correct.
But he
luckily
escapes.
he does escape, and he gets separated from the rest of them. And I feel like I also think this is the beginning where there's a little bit of twang that goes on for Jim. Like
Yes.
once he realizes the people that I thought, because in the beginning of the film, it's the government and all this kind of stuff. And when he comes to the government, the people who are supposed to save them, and they're all a bunch of monsters, he has this kind of twang where he's like, "Oh, we gotta take out all these guys. Every single one of you's got to go." Like, okay, that's great. And
but
he
in the midst of
lures
this,
them out,
he
bit
lures
by
them out.
bit.
But he sees an airplane in the
Yes.
midst of this, so he knows that they are no longer alone, and that's I think what gives him the power.
That's fair, yeah.
as well, because he
Yeah.
says so. It may not be the saviors he thought that we're going to be here, but there's still some people out there that are okay.
Yeah.
because there's a plane overhead. Because if they thought earlier that if they didn't see any planes, everything had been grounded, they hadn't seen any of that.
Right.
So to see that was a glimmer of hope. Once he got
Yeah.
that piece of hope inside of him, fire up,
Yeah,
lit up.
super. So he like tire irons this guy, and then he ends up going back to the mansion where all the army guys are, and he releases Mailer,
Yes, and they've made like
who just
Selena.
does all the work for him.
But they've made Selena and Hannah dress up really
In
like
these hideous red
obtusely in these
dresses.
dresses and like
Outrageous.
Selena started to drug Hannah so that she wouldn't care when she was getting continually raped. Which
Single
is
tear.
horrible. So Hannah's kind of fucked up, so she's not really like in
She's
it.
stoned.
And Jim is out of fucking control.
He is like the shirt has come off.
He is
And
just
so he's like
final
shirtless and
boy mode.
bloody.
Like,
yeah.
But it's not. But there's something like you get Nancy where she's in full frontal mode and like, yeah, girl, go. And then you get him and you're like, ooh, you might have gone a little far.
But also, I think because specifically Danny Boyle shot him like he did the shots for the infected, where you cut out every third or fourth frame,
Right.
So it's
So
got
it's all-
this rapid kind of whatever.
Well, that's
like
because you
Jim
can't
shot
tell
like that at
anymore.
the
That's
end.
the thing, and that's
Yeah.
what gives that tension too. Because
Yeah.
then when
Is he
people
or
see
isn't
him,
he?
and then
Yeah.
you wonder that whole time if he's gotten hit, because you keep seeing all these guys get infected by Mailer all of a sudden too, and it's
Yeah.
spreading
very
So-
quickly, and he takes out basically all of them until just West is left.
gouges out the eyes.
And yes, he does jump this guy in front of Selena, and he does gouge out his eyes, but it's shot in a great way where it's kind of shot from Jim's point of view, and then as the camera pans down, you see that his thumbs are in this guy's eyeballs, and it's long and
he's holding it for a very long
excruciating, and it
time.
goes for a very long time.
Like he's enjoying it. Like
and
he's-
Selena's looking at Jim like, "What the actual fuck?" Like, she's
And that's where
scared
she's
now.
questioning if he's the infected too, because
Correct.
he's so. But he's not moving fast like the infected would.
Yeah.
He's moving very deliberately into this guy's
Yes.
eyes.
But then she realizes that he's not infected, and so they have sort of this like happy reunion, and they start kissing, and Hannah knocks him out, hits him with a vase because she's like, "Oh, I thought he was one of them." Oh,
So it looked like he was biting her face, but I was like, no, they're making out hard.
Yeah.
They're snogging.
yeah, that was a hard
Snogging
That was a hard snog.
getting off.
Getting off, yes.
So they all climb into the taxi. They go to climb into the taxi, but Wes is in the back of the taxi and he shoots Jim. But Hannah drives off with him and kind of backs him into like the doorway of the mansion where Mailer is.
brilliant.
And he gets pulled out through the back windshield and torn
Mailer
to
rips him out.
pieces.
But then so they're like, okay, let's fucking get out of here. And they go, but the gates are closed. So they're like, okay, let's just ram
But
the
you know,
gates.
she's like a badass driver, because early on in the movie, like when they had to get gas, like she almost like ran into like a petrol truck. Like
Yeah, she
basically,
can, like,
she knows how to
drift.
cut out like Tokyo Drift style. She's like,
She's a big Tokyo drifter. That
yes.
girl. Yeah.
So she's ready. She's been like, okay, like she was born for this, and she guns that gate.
So they ram it, and they have this incredible freeze frame of Selena and Jim moving forward. Let's all do
That's
it.
for those
Let's
of you-
do it.
1, 2, 3.
Okay, that was good.
Yeah, that's good.
I honestly, like, if the movie had ended there, I kind of would have.
I would have been fine.
I would have been fine with it. I would have been like, that's awesome.
I'm glad they did more though, but I also
But
would
then
have
they
been
do
fine.
28 days later,
Of
yet
course.
again,
And now where are we?
in a like idyllic cottage.
See, this is what I'm saying. This is where they should have gone in the first place.
Yeah, so
They're in
there's
the
like
countryside now, but
Fair enough.
But they pan to a couple of infected who are literally limp now
Starving to death.
because they have finally hit that point where I don't think can move anymore.
Yeah,
and
they can't eat people,
They even
then-
see an airplane go by and they're like, meh. And they
do
like
nothing.
roll back into the gutter that they
they're
are in like this like.
Sewing, endlessly sewing.
Yeah.
And we see that they have a giant hello made from
Yes.
sheets.
And so when a fighter jet goes overhead, passes overhead, they see it and they realize, like, not only do they realize that the rest of the world is not infected, that it's just poor little Britain, but also that there is help out there and they're looking for survivors, which they are. So Hannah, Jim, and Selena are our final makeshift family?
Trio?
Final trio?
Final trio.
Final
I like
trio.
Final
So
trio.
Selena says, do you think they saw us this time?
Yes.
And
They hear a
that is-
helicopter say yes.
say yes, and that's the end. So there is a happy ending, which is but there are
Yes.
they did film a little unhappier endings.
There's alternate
Oh, okay.
endings.
There are alternate endings. There's one where Jim dies, where they take him to a hospital and try to like
Which
save
they have
him.
a clip. They have a little flash of
Of
that,
her, like,
and
with
like
the syringe
the
in her
syringe, and
mouth?
like trying to save him.
Yeah.
They have a flash of that. In the,
Yeah,
in the-
So they try to save him. They can't save him, and then the shot is like Selena and Hannah walking off together to like fight on.
Final girls.
But then there's another one where they shot the exact same hello sheet thing ending, just Jim's not there.
Got
It's exactly
it.
the same, but Jim's not there.
Got
So
it.
they like had a variety.
Like, what do we do with this Jim guy? We're
don't
not
know.
sure. It's tough cheekbones.
We
It's
want
tough.
cheekbones there, though.
I know. I kind of did. If he was going to go as far as to like gouge someone's eyes out to save these ladies,
Yeah,
that
it
guy
would be-
can live. I'm all right with
Yeah.
that. I can live with that.
Why don't we get into some gore factor?
Okay, can I
and
just
some
say
ratings? Yeah.
how much I love this movie? I know we're over time, but I fucking love it. Well done to everybody in this movie, who worked on this movie. You did a great job.
Yeah.
Gore factor: 1, not enough blood to fill a Dixie cup.
2, a puddle of blood.
3, enough blood to gross out the average viewer.
4, a bathtub of blood.
5, run for the barf bag. We gave
Lots
it
of barf.
We gave it a 5. So much.
We're gouging eyeballs out. Like, what are we even
and
talking
puking
about?
blood all over
and
people's
hatcheting
faces.
people, and like, I mean, just full on.
There's a lot of like the machete that Selena has that she uses very liberally in this
Yeah.
film.
I mean, there's
is-
a bat that he like when he takes down that little kid with a bat.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
Jim kills
yeah.
a kid with a bat. That's like the one person he like. Selena's been killing all these other people along the way as they got there, and like he just had that one.
So little boy.
All right, we got our movie ratings: 0 to 5 chainsaws, 1 if you're desperate,
2, barely qualifies as a horror film.
3 seen worse, seen better.
4 is not too shabby.
5, fantastic-oracle.
Where are we, ladies?
Up,
Fantastic-oracle.
I think that's enough for
Pretty much
episode
a five.
100.
The only thing I will throw you guys is, do you think... I thought about this when I was rewatching the film. Do you think the film would have been more interesting if the film had started when Jim woke up? Like, do you think we needed the prologue of how the infected works, the whole bit with the chimpanzee and the activists and whatever? And I understand that the point of it was to really demonstrate how the virus worked and that it's not zombies and all that kind of stuff. I feel like that gets established with Mark's death.
Yeah.
And so for me, that same confusion that Jim had in the beginning, where you're like, what? Huh? Mer? I wonder if it wouldn't have been more interesting to start that way.
I heard from Wes a little bit about, hi Wes, he's going to be moving in for producing here too. We got another
Hi.
producer. What? This party gets bigger every week.
It just you never can tell, changing around.
But he was talking to me about how there's like some theories that this was like an allegory for the AIDS epidemic as well. And so, you know, the monkey chimpanzees, like all of that kind of stuff, and the lineage and origin of it, and
Yeah.
like saliva and blood, and like things like bodily fluids and like all that kind of stuff of
Yeah,
like
'cause he's-
worrying about infection. So,
It's actually the kiss.
oh, lies. I lied. I'm talking about another movie.
Hi.
Cut that shit.
But there's also like a thing I know that we're like the rage is supposed to be sort of this, you know, metaphor for social rage and like, you know, all this
Right.
kind of stuff. But I felt like the beginning
Was
the
it like an
prologue-
evolutionary thing though that they wanted to show about people because we're talking
but I
about
felt
the
like
end
the
of
prologue
life?
only served to demonstrate how the infected worked. How
Yeah,
the
well,
virus
that's the
worked,
thing,
How
is
it
like
wasn't
this-
zombies.
But I'm wondering
this
if
is
it was-
a new. It's like he's like flipping the script. He's got a new kind of monster. They want to give you a clues on how things are working in case you can
Suppose
figure it
so.
out. But
I
I also
thought the
think,
death of Mark did that. You know.
yeah, it's true. But I also think like Omega Man kind of starts where you don't know anything, and I think that it starts off on such a low note because you're just confusion. Like here you
I
have
see.
a bit of a clue. You're like, okay, things got real fucked up real fast, and here's the aftermath. So you can kind of mentally fill in the middle
blanks.
bit. But if you don't know
see.
what the beginning was, you have nothing to fill in.
I suppose so. Yeah.
That's my-
I can see that.
that's my what I
can see
think.
that. Yeah.
you might not be as
Just throwing it
worried
out
for him either because you're like, oh,
there. Okay.
yeah, that's weird. There's nobody there, but why? But why?
Yeah.
And then you'd wonder why for at least 20 minutes.
Definitely. I just don't know if it would have been more interesting because I feel like as Jim is sort of what everything that Jim would think.
you discover with him, right.
Like, where is the government? Where's everybody? Is this a joke? Am I just dreaming? Like, am I, to be more, not that I don't feel like we weren't enough with cheekbones as we went.
My heart was already racing the whole damn movie, so I don't know.
I don't know why I'm asking for more. I'm going to stop talking.
Literally the whole movie.
So, I mean, this was your first time.
Yeah, and it was like terrifying, and I still had all the lights on in my house so I could take notes, but like, oh my God.
Okay.
Would you be
I was
more
sweating.
scared of Romero zombies or the infected?
The infected.
The infected.
Dear God, because they're fast.
Because they're fast. Okay, what about you?
Yeah, the infected.
The infected, yeah. Because the panic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want someone puking blood in my face. That's no good. That's no good at all.
Also, I feel like it's a two-prong approach. You can either puke blood in my face or eat me, whereas with zombies,
Either
you
way.
can just eat me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brains. Thank you for listening to us talk about brains and the infected and ghouls and zombies for 100 episodes.
Yeah.
we really
And thank you so much
appreciate
for
you.
having me back, guys. This has
Of
been
course.
so much
Are
fun.
you kidding us?
And
God.
Of
so
course.
excited. And I would encourage everyone, their Patreon is amazing. I am a Patreon subscriber of Horror Movie Survival Guide. Spoiler, I don't care. But I love all their all the features, like special features you had. There was this great interview that they recently did after an episode that was really BTS, and I'm a big fan of
We
BTS.
got a monthly newsletter
if you
coming
enjoy
at
the
you,
show,
too.
I would definitely recommend becoming a Patreon subscriber at any level because you get all kinds of fun tidbits. So
Tidbits you get. Yes. And also, we are on all of the social media things, so please find us on there. We love to hear from you. We write you back. We're cool. We put memes up, that kind of stuff. Everyone loves memes.
Open to suggestions for films.
Yes,
Since we're open our
please.
notebook wide open. We've got our old notebook.
We got the
more
actual notebook is here in effect. Dun, 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 dun.
Yay.
Look how beautiful that is.
what are you guys doing next week?
Next week, we are doing one from the notebook.
Are you?
Yes,
Yeah,
let's
we
see if
got
I can find the page.
Kiss.
Yes, The Kiss.
Which one was the kiss?
Starring Meredith Salinger.
Oh, yes.
We love her
There it
so
is.
much.
Aw, Natty Gann.
Yesterday of Natty Gann, she
good
posted a really great thing
one.
about wolves and stuff because of Natty Gann.
Oh, really?
Like as a cut to like Jon Snow. It was hilarious. Anywho.
Nat-
So it's
Big
a
Natty Gann
little,
dork.
little scene film from 1987. We love Meredith Salinger, and we're very excited to talk about it. Have you seen it? We don't know. We'll talk to you next week about it.
Yeah.
Thank you. 100 episodes. Ka-ching.
Ka-ching. Bye, guys.
Bye.